Welcome, everyone, to the Pro Football Doc special Thanksgiving edition, Week 12 podcast. Doc, I'm Thomas Casale here, co-host with Dr. David Chao, Pro Football Doc. Doc, how you doing? Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys and everyone watching or listening. Thanks for bearing with us on the schedule. It's a weird week for the NFL. I think all of us have a bunch of things going on. No, this is not my living room.
Yep, everyone's on location this week, but we snuck in to give you a quick Thanksgiving Day preview podcast. But Doc, we got 3 games on Thanksgiving. But before we get to those, I want to get your thoughts on probably the topic of the NFL right now, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Last week, he came up with kind of a mysterious toe injury. He said after the game, he's had turf toe. This isn't turf toe. He was seen in the tunnel there. Everyone was going crazy before the half. What are you making of all this, Doc?
Well, I'll admit I'm on a little early ski trip with the family. I haven't seen that whole radio interview, whatever that he did. But a pinky toe, well, first of all, that's not the turf toe, right? I mean, turf toe is only the, quote, big toe, the bunion joint. And I have no idea what pinky toe issue he had. He apparently did it when he was in quarantine, running through some drills. I mean, did he kick his pinky toe on a table leg? I mean, or a couch leg? I don't know. I'd have to do some more investigating. I'm not trying to call out Aaron Rodgers. Look, 50% of your push-off is off your big toe. So that's why the turf toe is so important. For get off, guys getting off the line of scrimmage, running, cutting, jumping, the whole deal. Your pinky toe obviously can inhibit things if it's very painful. And so I'm not doubting that it's painful. But it's also something that you could probably inject and make numb and not even think about. Now, maybe this is what Aaron Rodgers is saying. He played pretty well. He seemed pretty mobile. So maybe he did make it numb or he's able to play through it. But on day-to-day life, it's a beast putting his shoe on and this, that, the other, and it hurts. So maybe that's what he's saying. I don't know, but it gives me great comfort to hear that it's his pinky toe. In terms of if I were a Packers fan or I had Rodgers in my fantasy league or whatever it is, it would give me great, great comfort. It's not going to be the calf from a few years ago where he's limited. It's not a turf toe. Make it numb or play through it. I don't doubt he'll be limited in practice here and there. He's not going to miss any time or game.
Okay, and Doc, just to get your professional opinion on this, because I've heard people say this to me before. I think the injury got a bad name on turf toe because it doesn't sound that bad, but if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty painful, right?
Well, there's different degrees of turf toe, just like there's different degrees of a high ankle sprain. From minimal limp and play through to miss a couple weeks to miss a lot of weeks to need surgery. And it's the same for turf toe. There's different degrees of turf toe. ACL is a little bit different. Either it is torn or it's not torn, right? That one's more, are you pregnant or are you not pregnant? This one, a turf toe, lots of different degrees, just like ankle sprains. There are milder ones, there are more severe ones. And so, yes, absolutely can be painful for push-off. And look, last season in the playoffs for the Colts, Phillip Rivers had a turf toe that seemed pretty significant because the way that he was limping on it, et cetera, seemed pretty significant. Wasn't practicing during the week, but playing every playoff game for the Colts.
Okay, well, Doc, let's get into the Thanksgiving Day games now. There's 3 games scheduled for this Thanksgiving. The first game is the Lions and the Bears. We'll get to that in a second, but I want to jump to the Cowboys-Raiders game because the Cowboys have some significant injuries they're dealing with. Amari Cooper obviously tested positive for COVID. He's not going to be playing. CeeDee Lamb got a concussion in the previous game. They're hoping he'll be ready. And then Tyron Smith, Doc, the Cowboys' important left tackle, well, one of the most important players on their team, has been dealing with bone spurs. You would mention when it happened that it's not going to get any better throughout the season, or it won't fix itself. The Cowboys have come out and said something a little bit different, saying, oh, okay, he's fine now. Give us your thoughts on Tyron Smith and the Cowboys' injuries in general.
Well, first of all, I think we all know he's pretty key. Most left tackles are for right-handed quarterbacks, but especially on the Cowboys, I think he's been a key to that line. I'm not doubting the Cowboys medical staff. I'm not doubting Dr. Jones and company. They know more than I do in terms of having seen the player, X-ray, CT scan, MRI. But it's been reported there's a bone spur. All I am saying, if the bone spur is making you miss games, the bone spur, can you manage it? Can you shrink the swelling around the bone spur? Can you get through it? Yes. Can you get better where you can return to play, which I think they're trying to have him do on Thanksgiving? Yes. But you can't make the bone spur disappear without surgery. You can't get rid of the root of the problem without surgery. And given that the surgery is maybe a 3-4 week recovery, when I was in the NFL, we did one in season and used a bye week, and the guy missed one game, a bye week in one game, and returned to play. And he was a skill position player. So depending on the size of the bone spur, is it worthwhile? I was just asking the question. We talked about this 3+ weeks ago. To have an ankle scope, get rid of the bone spur, miss the 3 games, and get ready to go. Now, he's missed 2 games already. He might play this Thanksgiving. But then have assurance that he'll be fine in December and or playoffs for the Cowboys. It's just a philosophical question. The Cowboys have chosen to go the other way. And there's no right answer except in hindsight, right?
Yeah. And I imagine, Doc, with a guy that massive, does that come into play too in terms of pain tolerance?
It comes into play in terms of pain tolerance, but also which side it was. Usually the bone spur's in front of the ankle, so it may affect you getting into a stance. Or, for the offensive lineman, it's not just about being big and strong. It's about agility and balance. When a guy gets trucked back in the backfield and it is on roller skates, it's not because he's weak. It's because he got off balance, and then Aaron Donald or whoever shoves him back into the quarterback. It's not. So the feet and the ankles are very important in offensive linemen. And look, you can never be 100%, but I remember it was a year ago, 2 years ago, Deshaun Jackson with the Eagles, early season, was dealing with a core muscle. And I was just saying, just get the surgery, just get the surgery. It's not going to go completely away for this speedy skill position guy. They're like, oh, we'll wait 4 weeks, we'll wait 5 weeks, it'll be okay. And by the time they waited and it still wasn't okay, and then he had the surgery, his season was done, right? So sometimes the more conservative thing is to face reality and talk to your team and say, let's just get this done and get the insurance and the assurance that they'll be okay down the road for this same season.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point about balance. Tyron Smith's teammate, Zach Martin, one of the best in the game, probably had his worst game of his career against the Chiefs when Frank Clark just abused him. But they kept showing the highlights, and it was what you said. He was off balance, and Clark was pushing him into the backfield. So that's a good point on whether or not Tyron Smith is going to be 100%. Now,
I mean, these guys aren't sumo wrestlers. They're not dead weight, right? And even sumo wrestlers have to be on balance, right?
Yeah. Well, Doc, everyone can go to our website, profootballdoc.com. You can follow us at profootballdoc on Twitter, and make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button to get all our videos. At profootballdoc, Doc, we give the Raiders a slight health edge in this game. CeeDee Lamb, I know concussions are kind of hard. Seems like a short turnaround. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to make it. What do you think?
Statistically, he is not making it. It's like 95% of the players are not making it on a short week. There are some exceptions, and look, the Cowboys are posturing like he's going to make it. They're acting, of course, like they're very hopeful. He's been in meetings, he's this, that, the other. Now, let me give you the pro where he might make it and the con where he shouldn't. The pro where it's possible for him to make it is that there are 5 steps to return from a concussion protocol. And after the 5 steps, you have to get cleared by the independent doctor. Each of those 5 steps do not have to take a full day. It is possible to accelerate through more than one step in a day. So is it legal for CeeDee Lamb to be cleared and play? Yes. The con, 95+% of the time it has not happened, right? And if you look at it, and that's one of the disadvantages of the short week. Who knows? Maybe CeeDee Lamb had momentary symptoms. Maybe they put him in the concussion protocol more out of an abundance of caution, and he never really had symptoms, and that's why he was at meetings, which is a good sign. But he has to log a full practice before he gets cleared. So this is Wednesday morning. He has to log a full practice today. Now, is it possible to go from DNP to full practice? Yes. That's not the norm, right? So what they do is, we'll throw you some routes, do you some stuff in the morning. Now here's the real practice in the afternoon. That was limited. Now this one's full. And look, everyone knows that the day before your game, it's not a true full practice, right? You're not going to be in pads and out there hitting each other a ton. But if he does everything that the Cowboys ask him to do in the Cowboys practice, even if it's not much more than a walkthrough, that technically checks the box of full practice, and he could return. So normally I would say it's 95% he's out, but the way it's posturing here, it's closer to 50-50. And no, it's not a game time decision. They will know before the game. They will know well before the game. They will need the clearance from the independent doctor. And this is different than the red hat that's on the sideline. He's not getting cleared pregame. Right, at AT&T Stadium. This is the independent doctor in this case is different than the red hats that are on the sideline.
All right, well, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Make sure you check out all our latest information to see if CeeDee Lamb is going to be playing. Obviously, no Amari Cooper. Cowboys 7.5-point favorites in that game over the Raiders on Thanksgiving Day. Doc, let's turn to the first game of the day, the Lions and the Bears, which is just a complete mess. Listen, if you're going to eat dinner with the family, do it early and settle in for the rest of the games, because we got Doc. It is not Justin Fields' time this week. Justin Fields is out with a rib injury. I'm going to want to hear your thoughts on that. Andy Dalton to start, but first, as you predicted last Monday when we did our podcast, when nobody was talking about it, Jared Goff did not play last week with an oblique injury. You were on that right away. Tim Boyle, was that it? Tim Doyle? I don't know. Some guy who shouldn't be playing in the NFL started for the Lions, and somehow they almost won. That'll tell you how bad, what kind of shape the Browns are in right now. So let's go to Detroit first, Doc. Jared Goff with the oblique injury. Will he play, and if he does, how effective will he be with it?
Well, I mean, to make a funny comment, how effective has he been this season? Right?
Yeah, right.
That's a whole another point. Look, this is another one of those injuries where among the first podcasts that you and I talked about, we were rehashing hiding behind health, right? And where Jared Goff could have and should have started that Rams game against Seattle, that playoff game after his thumb last year. And I was saying they're hiding behind health. Basically, they don't love Jared Goff that much, that he's not that different than John Wolford, either whether they're here or here. And sure enough, Jared Goff came in for John Wolford and played 3.5 quarters. But obviously, it was true. The Rams didn't love Jared Goff. They traded him this offseason. The Lions may be doing a little bit of the same. Not that they're no longer in love with Jared Goff, but they've seen him struggling anyways, and then you add the oblique, which is important for a quarterback. They clearly changed their game plan some. You have to twist your torso to throw. You have to twist your torso to swing a baseball bat, to be a pitcher, to be a golfer, okay? And yes, it can absolutely affect you. And Jared Goff doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, so yes, it can affect him. But I think his not playing was a little bit hiding behind health. This week, what are their choices? Tim Boyle again, or David Blau on a short week? Jared Goff kind of becomes the better choice. I'm not sure that his oblique was that much better, but he kind of becomes a better choice as the veteran in a short week. And so I don't think it's going to be Dalton versus Boyle. It'll be Dalton versus Goff probably, but it ends up being a coaching decision.
All right, and so let's let's go to the other side of the ball where they have quarterback issues, but as you mentioned, it's not quite as bad because you get to have Andy Dalton start. But Justin Fields with that injury on Sunday, Doc, I know you looked at the video. What do you see in there in terms of his long-term health?
Look, we didn't see a lot on video. This was not one of those hits that back in the day would have been put on You Got Jacked. Very little contact. And he was kind of holding the front side there. I think it's going to be a rib cartilage injury, a rib muscle, intercostal muscle, or oblique muscle type injury. It could have pulled off a piece of cartilage or small piece of bone. X-rays are negative. This isn't one of those Rob Gronkowski fractures with punctured lungs with extended missed times. And we all remember Justin Fields. His most famous moment might be in that Sugar Bowl where he got jacked, went into the blue medical tent, got injections, and returned to lead Ohio State to victory in that Sugar Bowl. And that was much worse than this. Yet he returned to play from that one, hasn't from this one. Look, could Justin Fields take an injection and play? I think probably, but I don't have, X-rays or MRI images in my hands. But this may be another hiding behind health, this time from Matt Nagy. Rookie quarterback, short week. You can't inject him every day to practice. Andy Dalton becomes the better choice. And you're not going to say Andy Dalton's the better choice this week publicly and explain to people because Justin Fields is a rookie and he's not 100%, and unless he's practicing, we don't want him. That's denigrating your guy. So you say, no, he can't play. It's the ribs. And Andy Dalton, but just for this week. And as soon as Justin Fields healthy, he's back again. It's a convenient way where teams hide behind health. And it's not bad. Every team does it. I mean, it's just the way of the world. And this is what I'm trying to help viewers, listeners with insider knowledge, not insider information of just how the league works and how medical works within the league. It's not just doctor says play and he plays, or doctor says don't play and he plays. There's a lot of gray in between.
Yeah, and that's why we have the 6 scores up at the site. And one thing I always tell people, Doc, that we have the Bears with a decent health advantage this week, about 10 points. It's not just about Goff and Dalton. If you're new to the site, profootball.com, if you go to a team and you see a lot of red, that's bad. The Lions have a lot of red. You got cornerbacks, you got linebacker, you got offensive linemen, you got receivers, all with red. So it's not just about whether or not Goff will play. That's why these 6 scores are so helpful for fantasy owners and bettors. You can see the whole depth of the team, and right now the Lions are dealing with a lot of injuries. But
and Thomas, you're absolutely right. The quarterback injury, what we say with the field view and the 6 scores, the team scores, is we're more about the hidden injuries.
Yes.
Less about who's at quarterback. If we go back to the Monday night game, the reason why we're saying Tampa is the Giants' left tackle, left guard, and center were all on backups or third stringers. Yes, Vita Vea wasn't there, but that's a pretty distinct advantage that people may not know about, right? In the Lions' case, they're down their number 2 and number 3 cornerback, right? And so now factor that into the equation. And just because a spot is red doesn't mean that their score is completely low based on talent, or in baseball terms, wins against replacement, etc. I mean, the quarterback 6 score for the Bears is not as low as the quarterback 6 score would be for the Lions if Jared Goff wasn't playing. Because with Fields out, it's still Andy Dalton.
Right.
So it's not just the colors, but we actually do the numbers and have the proprietary formula that we have some NFL guys help us set up the formulas.
Yeah, and they're very helpful. And as much as the Lions are hurting, Doc, the last game, the Saints are an absolute mash unit. The Bills are one of the healthier teams in the NFL. Based on our early 6 scores, this was one of the biggest edges of the season. The Buffalo's about a 6.5 point favorite on the road. I'll tell you right now, I think that's blowout city. I think if you're sitting down for Thanksgiving night looking for a good game, you're going to be disappointed. I think the Saints are getting out of steam here. Too many injuries. I want to get your thoughts on some of them, Doc. Alvin Kamara, knee injury. He's missed the last 2 games. Mark Ingram, the backup, didn't practice with a knee. He's questionable for Thursday. In terms of Alvin Kamara, the first question, I want to get your overall thoughts on the Saints. But for Alvin Kamara, what are we looking at here? Because now we're looking at a 3rd game that he might miss.
Yeah, is this his 3rd, or would this be his 2nd? I lose track.
I thought it was his 3rd. Because I've started Ingram in fantasy.
This is the 3rd game he got the injury, I believe, 2 weeks ago in week 10, early in the second half, and finished the game. Week 11. Okay. Oh, you may be right. Maybe this is 2.
I thought I started Mark Ingram twice in fantasy, and God knows I wouldn't do that.
Right. I mean, all the injuries run together in my mind. But the point is, he was on track to play. He had a limited practice, and then he was reverted to DNP. So I think you might be right. The bottom line is, I think he had a setback, and that's why I think he's a little dubious for this week. We don't know what happened with Ingram and kind of thing, because it happened in practice, and there's no video of it whatsoever. But that just start right there. But last week, if you look at the final score, it got a little bit deceiving, because in the end, the Saints came back to put up some points late, but the game was long gone by the Eagles. Yeah. That was one of our, look, I'm not a tout, and we're not here to pick games. We're just here to give you injury information. So if you, for example, last week in week 11, liked the Eagles at home against the Saints, and then you saw our injury information that put the offense team 6 score, the lowest of any team this season for the Saints, you might have put 2 or 3 units on that game, right? We're not trying to convince you otherwise. If you like the Saints, maybe you hold off, or maybe you only put half a unit. I mean, that was an easy cruiser blowout game, and most of the points were garbage time points at the end.
Yeah,
I don't see the Saints offense getting that much healthier. Now, Sean Payton's pretty smart, and maybe he can come up with some concoctions and different things, but straight out health, they're still going to be relatively low. They're probably a little bit better this week based on some offensive line things that are happening. But then again, they also lost Adam Troutman. So when you look at the scores, it's still going to be low for their offense. And you're right, the Bills have been among the healthier squads.
So, Doc, I want to ask you a question from your time in the NFL, just trying to give you my thinking as a bettor to see if it lines up. I look at a team like the Saints as we start to get towards the end of the year. Now, Sean Payton's a good coach. They've gotten some wins even with the injuries. But I think you get to a point sometimes with these teams where you get so many injuries, and I don't know how the team feels internally, but it just feels like you get to a point, like you mentioned Troutman, they're down to Trevor Siemian at quarterback. They've had significant injuries. How does that affect the mindset of a team as you start getting into December?
I think it depends. And I think anyone who says, look, this team's going to tank for a draft pick, or this team's going to play hard for a coach, or this team is, it's so individual based on the makeup of a team. For example, is it possible that one player who says, look, I'm just trying to get my next contract, I'm going to play all out no matter what and put down good film, even if we have a terrible, let's say the Lions, okay? I mean, the Saints aren't terrible, but I'm trying to get my next contract. Another player may say, I just have pride in my work. I'm not going to put out bad film ever, even though I have my contract. And another player might say, we're not going anywhere this year. I'm going to make a business decision. Mm-hmm. And a team or a coach might say, Dan Campbell might say, look, it's my first year. I'm trying to get a win. I want to get that first win. And where Sean Payton might say, look, my contract is secure. I'm not going anywhere. Well, let's just play some of the younger guys and whatever. It depends. Teams and players know when you're not trying to win. When you're not putting the best people out there, they know. And then they see it, and then they kind of all shut down. But if you're the coaches are working hard. They're putting the best players forward. They're still trying to win. Look, I was on that San Diego Chargers team that was featured where they said the last time three different quarterbacks threw an interception and in the same game. Ryan Leaf was drafted. He did get hurt. He wasn't doing so well. We needed to bring in a veteran. That was Jim Harbaugh. Moses Moreno, great kid. Look, we were at that point in time we were stocking up on ex-Chicago Bears quarterbacks from Jim Harbaugh to Moses Moreno, and we also had Eric Kramer at one point on our squad. This is another trivia question. At one point in our squad, the three quarterbacks on our team on the San Diego Chargers were all ex-Bears. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, Eric Kramer, Moses Moreno, and let's not forget Doug Flutie's an ex-Bear.
Yes. Yep.
And he was on our team too. But anyways, the bottom line is that we were 1-15 that year. We went 0-11. And let me tell you, that week that we beat the Chiefs to go 1-11 for the season, we felt pretty good about ourselves that week. I mean, it's the highs and the lows of the game. And so it's very individual. Not all teams go into the tank. And it's hard to predict. There's a lot of dynamics that go into it.
Yep, and Doc, as you mentioned, the Bills, I just got a tweet while we were on here that Sean McDermott said no one on the active roster is declared out for the game. So as we mentioned, one of the healthier teams in the NFL. So you can go to Pro Football Doc. We'll have all the 6 scores up for the Thanksgiving Day games, for the Sunday games. We'll have all the breaking injury information. Doc, as always, it was a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your ski trip and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And I don't have the option of having dinner during the Bears-Lions first game because that's at 9:30 Pacific time. So
well, then try to have a Thanksgiving breakfast then, and that's a tough one if you have to watch it. But luckily on the East Coast, we can get all our stuff done during that game. But no, have a great day and a great weekend.
Thank you.